I remember driving the first truck that went out there that night. Slaughter was chief, I think. And the first thing we found was a bunch of luggage along the ditch, along the highway. Of course, we had no idea it was the magnitude that it was until we got to looking around a little bit. The location was quite large out there, from one end of that road to the other, and that whole field out there was covered with parts of that plane. Big cavity in the road burning, and there wasn't much large pieces of the plane at all. It was scattered all over the place, but there was nothing real large.
Okay.
We didn't even know what kind of plane it was. The only fire, yes, there was just a little fire in the roadway, but it was a deep caravan there, cavity, where it had gone in, and it burned there for quite a while.
Okay.
Just a hole in the ground, really. And I remember, I don't know who was with me, I'm sure I wasn't out in that field by myself, but we walked all over that field, and there was parts of a plane every place. You couldn't recognize it as a plane, but it was just aluminum parts of the plane there, and down on Red Hill Road there was some parts. I walked as much as I could, but it was mostly mud, and it was tremendous.
So
and it wasn't long after that that the Navy brought, and I don't know whose insistence this was, but they come over there with a bunch of recruit sailors in a bus, and they all had Oxford shoes on and no boots or galoshes or anything, and it was a mess. I was at home. I was living on West High Street here in Elkton, and the alarm went out. I had a monitor in my bedroom. I hadn't gone to bed yet, but my wife and I was in the bedroom with a couple of the children, I think, and it said a plane crash on the monitor. So naturally I went right to the firehouse. The siren was sounded about then, and I drove the first fire truck that went up there. Of course, there was a little bit of fire in the middle of a road about halfway through Delancey Road, but later on it started getting daylight. Well, we could tell that there was parts of that plane scattered all over that field up there. I was assistant chief, and I was also a driver. I was driving the truck that went up there first.
Okay.
And Slaughter was in the right front cab with me. I was driving, he was the chief at the time.
Okay.
Didn't hear a thing until I heard, I think it was Rosemary Cully put the alarm out for a plane crash on Delancey Road, I believe. Actually, we didn't have too much information. The only thing that we had was it was a plane crash. And of course, the majority of the plane, at least we thought, was right in the middle of the road, about 3/4 of the way through from Red Hill over to Route 40. And of course the road was blocked, nobody could get through. We saw some luggage laying in the side of the roadway as we were going in, and Slaughter was chief, and he was in the front seat with me, and he looked out the window as we were going by, and he saw this luggage, and he thought it was probably a military plane, because the luggage looked like military luggage, leather suitcases and things like that. Of course, we learned later that actually the plane had stopped in Baltimore, and some of the people and some of the luggage had been taken off there before it continued on here, and I
Mhm.
don't even remember now what happened. And I stayed there until the wee hours of the morning, and then I come back to town. It runs in my mind it was snowing or raining a lot at the time, and I never went back out there afterwards. I never went over to the armory where they were taking remains until the very last day that there was anything going on over there. Slaughter sort of was in charge. He was the first officer of any type, I think, to be there. And I stayed there for quite a while. And I had a pickup truck that I had McIntire bus lines at the time, and I had a truck with a barrel with gasoline on it, and I hauled gasoline. I didn't do it, but Jack Wells, who worked for me, he brought the truck out there and supplied some gasoline to some of the fire trucks that was out there, but there wasn't any fire to amount to anything.
Okay.
From Northeast Fire Company, I think he was on the ambulance, on their ambulance maybe, if they had an ambulance. I know, anyway, it was a man from the Northeast Fire Department that dropped dead of some cause, heart attack probably, but I don't know for sure.